Welcome to the Money Business Podcast. I'm your host, Neal Regino. Today I am here with Yohannes from National Life. We've talked about our affiliation with National Life, really great partner of ours. We're one of their agencies, and we've been bringing some of the leadership on here, and good number of leaders on here, actually. We've had Rebecca, we've had Greg. We will likely have Mayron on here in a couple of weeks, so we'll kind of culminate there.
Exciting.
But yeah, so Johannes is in our office today, so I wanted to get some time and talk to him about his journey here, dive more into National Life and what Johannes does, which is really developing the agencies and building them for success and teaching them where to go next and try to guide and make sure that everybody is successful and give them the tools that they need. So where I'd like to start is just your background. You're a little bit newer here, and let's talk about where you were, what led you here, and why you actually chose to be in this company.
Sure. So, backing up, and thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Neal. Good to be here. I started with another organization, was there for about 16 years, and how I got into the business was really going a direction of more the actuarial science direction, and then decided to take a look at this. And once I got in, I gave a 2-year commitment to check this out with a plan for this to be a detour. 2 years and I kept my commitment. I would have probably quit about 7 times along the way if I hadn't. I remember talking to the hiring manager, and was told him I'll be here for a year, and he said, no, you have to give me a 2-year commitment to make this work. And because if you don't, it's not fair to me or to you for the investment level we put into you. And I thought about it, and at some point I'm like, it's probably too quick of a stint. If it's a year, let me commit to the 2. Probably quit 7 times along the way, but had that commitment that day on my calendar. When the time that day arrived, I looked at it, I said, okay, I've already done the hard work. More to come.
Yeah.
But at this point, it was just too much fun. It was, no 2 days are the same. You have an impact in people's lives. And it ended up being something the detour became the destination.
Yeah.
So that's how I got here. Now, had a lot of growth where I was not planning to go anywhere. Got a call, and National Life was starting to make a name for itself in this industry for just how much they were growing, how fast they were growing. And so it was something that was intrigued enough to take a call. What got me was, again, living benefits. It was something that I was passionate about, and this was the innovator, the leader in that business, and a true entrepreneurial model where we meet people where they are. It's not an organization where we say, what do we need, and then how do we go get it? It's more, what does the marketplace need? What does the industry need? And then how do we meet people where they are and align with them to meet that need? And, you hear these types of things, and then you get closer to it, and you realize every single person in the leadership lives it.
Yeah.
And that was really attractive to me.
Yeah, it's funny because with 3 different leaders in the organization, and I talked to more than that, but 3 that have been on this podcast, you've all said the same thing. We meet people where they are. And that's
it's the ethos. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true because our whole model is, the contract, some of those specifics don't matter as much as the mission and where we're headed together. Right?
Yeah.
So if you align with somebody on a value system basis, on a mission basis, and your strengths work for their business model, then how do we figure it out? Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's worked really to our advantage here.
So I've seen the way you've introduced new innovations to these organizations, the way that you've allowed us to step into the new era with the times with, there's new things coming with AI, there's things with technology, there's things with social media. When you're actually working with these organizations, what's exactly is your role aside from, hey, here's your business plan from the year. I just want to see where you're at along with that. Like, what are you actually doing to help people? And again, I've alluded to it. I know you're helping people, but what is that role? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So a couple of hats I wear, right? But part of it is, and here's an expression I heard that's always stuck with me is the future is already here, but it's not that evenly distributed. So I get the privilege of working with these leadership of these agencies with the people doing really well. They're thriving, right? And so I like to steal ideas. I look at that visibility and I say, okay, that future is here, right here. So how do I get more of that somewhere else, and vice versa? So I hear they say if you're stealing from one person, then then it might be then you might be stealing. If you're stealing from multiple people, it's called research, right? Now you attribute, you give that credit, but if I'm looking at what you're doing, Neal, how are you doing it, and I see how well it's working for you, that's something I look at and say, is that something that's scalable? If it's something that's scalable, then we try to pour some fire into it. We try to move it somewhere else and say, here's how somebody's killing it now, doing what they're doing. Is this something that could work? Because everybody's wondering, well, anyone that's growth oriented, right, is wondering, what could I be doing differently? What's that person over there doing that I'm not doing?
Yeah.
And and they'll have that mindset of their competitive person. They may say, I may not be better than anyone, but nobody's better than me, right? And so if somebody's doing, taking this approach and it's working for them, I just got to figure out what that looks like, right? And it's all contextual. It all depends on a lot of circumstances, but, so some things are really, really dependent on very specific, but there's so many things you could look at and say, wow, we've got the system right now to partner with CPAs, and this organization is doing such a good job with that. Why can't Philadelphia take advantage of it? Or, man, Philly has been a leader in retirement income and providing that avenue, right? By far, in most of our agencies, this organization here, Evolution, has been, is always top 3 in our system, right?
Yep.
And maybe we'll get that number 1 spot. So what are you doing that's different? So that's a lot of my role. I have that privilege of watching, listening, paying attention, being a student of the business, and then trying to apply it somewhere else. So that's really the fun for it for me.
I'll say that's actually something culturally that I've seen differently here is that, the other OSJs and agencies do collaborate, and we do try to figure out best practice. Yes, we're competitive and say, hey, we want to be better than you at this, but then at the same time, well, you're doing a lot better at this. What are you doing differently? And I've noticed for me, I've been able to reach out to the recruiter in New Jersey and say, hey, what are you doing differently than us? And instead of being shut down like you would see at a lot of other organizations, he said, well, let's talk about what you're doing and what I'm doing and see what you could be tweaking to do a little bit better. So this podcast, we started it really geared towards business owners. And I know Mayron, the CEO of National Life, will always say we're a middle market company.
Yeah.
I see the numbers. I know we also go up market. So we have a great advanced market department. And I'm sure most insurance companies do. But if a business owner is looking at things like a buy, sell, or looking in a defined benefit plan and looking to add life insurance and maybe a 401a plan, what do you think differentiates National Life versus some of the competitors?
Partly, and this is something that I think you alluded to it, I came to National Life not that long ago. This was the biggest surprise for me, right? Because you called it, Mayron calls this a middle market company, and we really lean into that space because we know the need is overwhelming there, right? However, I had no idea the advanced sales department we have, and this was a conscious effort to not call it advanced markets so much as advanced sales, because they are very much in the action, helping almost to the point of sale, right, where they're solving for current needs, right? So we've got a very well-staffed, really, like, our brain trust of our attorneys and our advanced salespeople are just phenomenal, first of all. I didn't expect to find the depth of talent and resource that we have here.
Yeah. And look, I think the IUL space has some great companies. I don't take away from those other that are in the top 3, and in fact, I place a lot of business with them depending on what their right situation is. But I think for sure what you said in the beginning, the accelerated riders are a big story for me, and then the other part that the ease of business is what I found and what most people will find, and I'll just do a little bit of selling, but a lot of times you go to an advisor or an agent that sells insurance, and what Dave, our president, says is, you're not going to believe what I tell you.
Yeah.
Let me show you. And the ease of business is the biggest differentiator to bring people in that are in this industry. And it's also for a business owner not having the time to want to schedule medical if it's in the right place, or wanting to take time to get things done. We always use the quote, you spend more time planning a 2 week vacation than you do a lifetime of
That's right.
planning your financial future. If you're a business owner, it's even less so.
That's
You know,
right.
so letting us just take care of that and making it a lot easier to get things done. I think that's a big differentiator for us. So that, I guess I did a lot of that selling already. But if you, outside of the business owner, wanted to look at something, if you're an insurance agent,
Yeah.
what do you think? Why do you think they should give National Life a look?
Sure. So the first thing I would say, and to speak to that, everyone says ease of doing business. You have no idea. For a lot of folks, it's like you have no idea the difference. I mean, that's just a genuine surprise too, right? Um, I'm used to carriers that look at their service levels, and I would say this is more common, right? Like it's classified information, right? In terms of, hey, what are our turnaround times, right? From the outside, you don't get to experience it, you don't get to know what it is, right? What's our, how quickly are we putting cases through? We say we have none med underwriting where you don't get fluids or anything like that, but how many of our cases actually go through that, as opposed to, if there's a little flag, then it goes through more traditional underwriting. And we look at it, this organization puts that dashboard up. It's super transparent. I can see what it looked like the last 14 days, and I can see what it looked like the last 90. It's live. It shows how many of our cases were approved better than applied for, and it's a large percentage. And and it's tracked, and it's transparent, and every one of our distribution partners gets to see it. And so we're very, very highly accountable to our service model. This idea of like service as a product,
Yeah.
it's key. Like you said, it's people experience and expect to have, some ease of doing business, be able to move faster. The other piece, and again, there's another thing I didn't know, is that you got distribution systems that are like either owned distribution or independent distribution or hybrids, right? National Life does a little bit of both, right? We've got distribution partners. What that does for us and forces us to do is to get our service to be as good as possible. Not perfect ever,
Yep.
right? We have snags like anyone else. We do. We run into them. We fix them. But because the baseline is so strong and we know we have to earn that business every single time in the independent marketplace, when there is something broken, and that's where I would say you see the difference too. When something doesn't work, and I call, I've been relatively new, so I say, hey, Pam, what do I do with this? Hey, so-and-so, what do I do with this? How do I handle it? And sometimes I already know I'm not coming to the right person, but I'm hoping they direct me.
Yep.
Not only do they direct you, they say, yeah, but let me do this for you, or here's how you do it. You take a lot of ownership. So anyway, that's just been my experience.
Yeah, and I actually, Brian and I talk about Brian's usually the guest host, as you all know, or co-host, excuse me. But we talk about the service level. Luckily the way our model is, we write everywhere that makes sense for the client. And with a lot of the larger carriers, we tell them, the client, don't ever call them. Go through us because you're going to be frustrated. And we say, look, right now we felt like National Life is small enough that they can still service to the top of the level, and they're getting big quickly.
Yeah.
And we're like, as they get larger, we hope we never lose that. And it's part of the reason that we love working through the affiliated channel, is because we have one point of contact that can get us to everything that we need. So this year's been another big year for National Life. Jumped a very large carrier in sales, one of their competitors.
Yes.
Just got number 2 on Wall Street Journal's whole life product.
Yeah, top whole life product. Yeah.
How's it shaping up for you? Is your channel that you're responsible for? Is everything looking like another good year for 2025?
It looks like another record year for us.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you keep pushing, right? At the minute you kind of feel like we think we're getting there, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I will say, the person I report to, I answer to, my partner is always diligent, right? So we don't celebrate too quickly, but we're very excited about where we're going this year.
Yeah.
And we're just playing a lot of offense, right? We're just going out there trying to align with people that, again, are after the same thing, so we can accelerate what they're doing, we can invest in what they're doing, and we could be thinking partners with them in growth. So
Yeah, the beautiful thing, we talked about this earlier just in a conversation at lunch, but it, the beautiful thing about National Life, with as much growth as they've had, not everybody knows about them. And
yeah,
the not only in the industry but the public, part of that is they didn't spend a lot of money on the public marketing. You don't see their name on a stadium. You don't see they just did their first corporate sponsorship last year. So even when I'm talking to clients and I say, you probably never heard of this company, and they'll always say, yeah, I've never heard of them. And you're like, yeah, they just organically have had this growth, intentional growth. So there's a lot of room on your side, which is great on our side too, to bring in agents, to bring in advisors, to teach the public why the differentiator's there. And the reputation and longevity makes it easier for us, to be
yeah.
honest. So I guess the next phase there, then what is next for the company? Where can it go? Anytime that Mayron comes out with something or some statement that you're just like, I never even thought of it like that. What do you think's next for National
Yeah.
Life?
So just to respond to that, you know, 15 years ago, I wasn't as aware of this organization, right? 177-year-old company at least, and one of the very oldest mutuals in the business, right?
Yeah.
Which is a policy owner owned company, right? And yet, it's made enough of a name for itself within the industry now that I remember when I made that decision to join this organization, I was excited, but I was always curious what the response would be. And you would not, how many times I heard, oh, that's a very good, oh, where are you going, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, Johannes? And I'd say National Life Group. And they're like, oh, that's a good company, right? That reputation is really making a name for itself within the industry. We're on our way to, and want to be that, household name. Miran says we want that 5 million clients next, right? So we're on our way. We've got a couple million. We're on our way to 5 million clients. That's a big one. But again, it's just the mission is to turn the tide. I would say when you're looking in the industry, the average age of of an advisor in this business, of an agent in this business, is high 50s. National Life, I don't have the exact. It's in like the 30s. It's we're just a more diverse. We look more like the marketplace we serve. So. But we want to do more of that so that ultimately what we're seeing in the industry is less and less people have coverage, less and less people have planning. There's a huge planning gap, there's a huge protection gap. And so we want to address that. I think it's that cause-driven approach. That's what I keep hearing from Ron, and that's what we're about, right? So, but you mentioned, it's maybe a little bit of a segue, right? But one of the things that it does absolutely better than anyone else is an early leader in living benefits, an innovator, right? So today, when you're looking at it, when you talked about business owners, the number one cause of bankruptcies for personal bankruptcies and business bankruptcies is critical illnesses, is chronic illnesses, right? So, do you put a plan in place for that? Okay, but then what about for premature death? But what about for, hopefully you and I live a long time and our business owners live a long time. What about for retirement, right? So what people get from us is the peace of mind of knowing, should they live a long, healthy life, they'll never outlive their income. If by chance somebody passes away prematurely, yes, then their families will be okay. They can stay in their home, the business, their legacy can continue. But what if they get sick along the way? Right? And now we've got plans in place, and they may have health insurance. That pays them. But who pays them when they're dealing with it? Your average cancer diagnosis? About half a year, 6 months, you're out of work. You're dealing with that. So to put money in people's pockets at those times, while putting plans in place for plan A, right, if they live a long, healthy life, and not having to do this with multiple dollars and multiple programs through plans that could cover that kind of flexibility, I think we do that better than anyone else. So.
I agree. The last thing I want to ask, and I ask this of everybody, you don't have to, I won't hold you to it if it's wrong, but where do you see AI fitting in with our industry and with the marketplace? Do you see it as being helpful? Do you see it as replacing? How do you see it fitting in?
Yeah, the $1 trillion question, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the answer is, do I truly know? No. Where do I see it?
Nobody
I
does.
think it's a powerful tool. I think those that adopt and work with it early will be beneficiaries. Ultimately, our business is about trust, right? It is 100%. The currency that we're using, our currency is trust. And so I think it will be an accelerator of, agent and advisor efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a replacer of that. We're not there yet. Could we be? I don't know. But ultimately, today, I think it can allow us to do things faster for our clients, to provide services better for them. So I think it's good news for our business. And the more we explore how we use it to accelerate our business, to accelerate the way we go to market, the better.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ultimately a replacement because it's trust, that factor, right? And that's who I need to be able to, if I'm talking about my life, my plan, and putting plans in place to protect my family.
Yeah.
I think that's still relationship driven.
So I agree, and I've said this before on this same channel, but the 2008 coming out of there, robo advisors were going to replace us.
Yes.
And that was all the talk. Robo advisors are going to replace. What are you going to do? You're not going to have a job. And me, I was an asset manager at the time, just only AUM. So, and I said that's the personal touch is going to matter. And for investments, the hardest part is the mental aspect. A machine's not going to tell you, hey, you should be in the market or out of the market. You can't ask them what they're doing. And
that's right.
And when somebody's panicking, that same algorithm's not going to tell you, hey, calm down. This is the trends from the past. So I feel the same way about AI. I also have said it many times on here that there's way too many ways to get to the same outcome.
That's true.
And depending on a person's personality and their emotions, not everything's going to fit the same person the same way.
That's true.
So if an AI tells you, hey, this is what you should do, and they're like, that doesn't fit me. It's like they can't have that personal touch. So
that's true.
At least for now, I think we're okay. At least you didn't say, "Hey, it's going to kill us all." So that's because that's an opinion alive, too. Yeah. So, but anyway, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you didn't have to, and it's been really great spending some time with you, and really over the last week during our planning meeting, as they know, we've been doing these during our Mohunk time, and
that's right.
Yohannes was up there. If anybody has any questions for us or is thinking about maybe making a change or why add a national life, our website, it's evolutionfg.com. You can get a hold of us. And Yohannes, really appreciate you coming in. Appreciate everyone's time for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot, man.